All right, so now we're going to finish up this Google form by restating the thesis, reviewing our main points, and covering the final thought. So let's begin with restating the thesis. Obviously, we're going to go back and look at what our thesis statement is and say it in a different way. This is a great time to tell your audience, now you have learned about. Once you follow the what, you're going to go ahead and review the main points. This is when you remind your audience what they've learned. We have discussed A, B, and C. You just list them. Now, some people choose to include some minor small details when they review their main points. This is completely okay. It usually sounds like we have now discussed A, which we learned X and Y. We've also discussed B, and we've learned about X. And we've discovered C, and we discussed XYZ. Now, that is also okay to do if you want to remind people of some really important focal points that you discussed in your main points. Now, let's go to one of the most important parts of your speech, and that is going to be the final part, the final thought. Just as the attention getter was so important to get people engaged and interested in your speech, there is nothing worse than watching a 3-hour movie and the last 10 ending minutes are horrible or super disappointing. What it does to the entire movie is it ruins the entire thing. It is that lasting impression that people leave with that make up the final thought. How are you going to end this so that we leave on a good note? It's important that the last thing we hear is something that keeps us thinking. It allows us to have a feeling of satisfaction, that we've learned something, that this was truly important, and it leaves us something to think of. So make sure you spend a lot of time thinking, how are you going to end this last 10 to 30 seconds so that when we go to grade it, it leaves a great impression in our minds. This needs to be written word for word. So make sure, if you notice here, it says it's a long answer. Make sure you write it word for word. Also, you include specific things you want to include in your video in that final thought. This will allow you to be better prepared in finishing on a really strong note. Guys, this is the outline that is going to help you organize your ideas. From this point on, then we'll move on to the recording of your vlog.